Hey, do you remember this? Oh, sounds a bit rough. We'll check it out now. I think it deserves the LED treatment. Hello YouTubes, this is an old AHM sea liner that I got on eBay a few weeks back for not that much money. As you can see, it's absolutely horrible. Who thought it was a good idea to paint a Loco brown? Anyway, I think we can improve it a bit because I did get it running really nice. So I am going to upgrade it as best I can. It deserves at least that. I don't think I'll ever be going DCC with this one, and it does have a broken rear truck, so I can't even attach a hooky thing. Coupler, wow. Anyway, I'll let you see what's involved with this particular upgrade today. So we are going to add front windows, side windows, possibly some glass in there and there, LED in the front, possibly a white LED in the front for the headlight, yellow LEDs for the number boards, and they will also light up the cabin. We're missing a horn. Now I do have a couple of horns printed out, 3D printed. They look like that, and they're two different styles. This one has got a large diaphragm at the back. Don't know if you can see that. That one's got a small one. And it looks like this requires the large diaphragm, namely that one there. So I will need to add that. I did notice there's only one hole on the top of the cabin. So I will be cutting this little leg off, gluing that in, but I need to paint that first, obviously. Once the LEDs are in, as I say, white there, yellow, and I think I'll add a red one for the rear. I'm not going to drill a hole through the back, that would be silly, or maybe I will. I might drill a little hole in the top of the door. I'm not sure where the light would be, if it even had one in this Loco. So yeah, maybe drill a wee hole there for the red light at the back. And finally, it needs a couple of grab rails. You can see where there's 4 little holes there. I had a wee look online. Apparently it's supposed to have orange grab rails, which is bizarre. And I'm going to use some of this wire. It's a sort of craft wire you get in dollar stores. This was only $1.50 for a roll. And I've got all sorts of colours, but I'm going to use the black, and then I'm just going to paint it orange, just to kind of highlight it for the grab rails at the front. So let us take this body off the chassis, and then we can put the chassis aside because we won't be using that at the moment, but I will obviously have to cut into these wires in order to light the LEDs, but we'll get to that soon. So let's begin with installing some glass. I have a sheet of this, whatever this is, I'm sure it's part of another kit, but it's a reasonably solid clear plastic which I can also bend and cut to shape. So let's go with the front windows. And I'm not going to do a whole template thing, I'm going to cut it out and then just keep cutting it down until I get the right shape. I'm thinking it needs to be about that wide. I'm going to fold it in the middle. And it's going to almost break. Yeah, so we can't fold this completely. That's okay, I can just cut it separately. So let's, you know what, I am actually going to grab a Sharpie and just cut out or draw around the rough shape that I need. I am surprised that snapped so easily. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was going to be able to do this in one section, but it is not to be. Let's cut round here. I need a little bit of overlap so that I can glue it to the inside of the cabin. What side was that? Okay. So that'll go roughly there. Okay, I need to trim it down a bit. Yeah, something like that. Yep, I'll just make another one just like that, and then we can glue it in. Hopefully I don't glue my fingers together. At least not until I've finished this. Oh, I do like the super glue with the brush, but it does get a bit gloopy. Let's not go too mad with this. But I do not want it to fall out. That actually looks quite nice. Let me get the other side in. I know it looks like I'm putting millions of glue on, but there's not actually a lot on the brush. Trust me. Oh, 1000% better. Right, let me get the sides on. I'll see you in a minute. We have windows. That'll keep the drivers nice and warm in Canada. Or New York, Pennsylvania. Don't know why I said New York. Hey, it's close. So we have glass. Time to fit the horn. And we're going for the one that looks the same as that one. But I do need to cut off this front stick. I don't know. I need to cut it off, whatever it is. And obviously I need to paint it. So that should slot in there. Looks like a pretty good match to me. So let me just give this a quick dab of paint. With the smallest paintbrush known to man. Right, I will let that dry. Probably give it another coat. I've noticed when I'm using the 3D resin prints, they do suck up the the paint quite a lot. So as I say, I'll let that dry, give it another coat, and then throw it on the desk and smudge it all twice. I just spotted I missed a wee bit there. Now I've lost it. There. Okay, let me put that aside, move on to something else. Time for some LED treatment. Right, I'm going to do this a wee bit different from how I've been doing it before. If you've been watching along, you'll know that this particular type of LEDs require a resistor because they all run around about 3 volts and I'm running 12 volts on my layout DC at the moment. So anything more than 3 volts and these LEDs just pop. So here's my theory. If I was to run 4 LEDs around 3 volts each, takes you up to 12, no need for a resistor, but I do need to wire them all in series. So you will have, you see the longer one, that's positive, shorter one's negative. So if I run a wire from this negative to, let's say I'm going white to yellow, I'll go power coming into the positive, comes out the negative, run a wire from the negative to the positive, which is a long one, and then run a wire from the negative to the next one, which might be another yellow, and then the same all the way to the back for a red one. 4 LEDs, 12 volts, hopefully don't need any resistor, but we'll test that, and if it doesn't work, well, I can add resistors later, and these things cost virtually nothing individually. You buy a big box like this, it's not too bad. It's like $15 or something. I'll leave a link. And I think I'll probably use the very small ones for this particular job because I've got a feeling that this particular LED bulb will slot in that hole there. And it does. It kind of sticks out a bit. In fact, it sticks out all the way. So I'll maybe stop it just about there, maybe back a little bit so that it's not sticking its nose right out. Yeah, and I'll attach these just with some, well, I was going to say I would use a glue gun, hot glue gun. I think I'll just use that super glue, that's probably good enough. Although if it breaks, then I'm going to have all sorts of fun trying to get it out again if I use super glue. But I don't imagine it would be easy getting a hot glue gun in there. So yeah, I think I will, yeah, a bit of super glue, glue that in there. I may assemble everything together, like the white one and the 2 yellow ones first before I glue it in, because I don't really imagine it's going to be easy getting a soldering iron in there. Okay, let me heat up the soldering iron, see what we can come up with. So that's the basic layout I'm going for. 3 LEDs at the front, headlights sticking through there, the 2 yellow ones kind of behind the number boards, and I did remember to add some glass in there, and then a wire running all the way down to a red light sticking out there. So before obviously I glue that in and wire it to the actual chassis, I need to take this out and test it and see if they blow and see if they light up. And see if I can get this back out again. Okay, over to the track for a brief memento and see if these light up or if they pop and blow. Now, if you know about LEDs, you will know that they will only work in one direction. So let's see if I've got them the right way around. Oh, look at that, we have lights. And the good thing about LEDs, they come on quite early. Although that's barely a quarter of the power. I've got a feeling these are going to pop. You know what, I might as well try it. And I've just blown them all. So it looks like these particular smaller LEDs are going to require resistors. That's unfortunate. So I consulted my little cheat sheet, which tells me what resistor I need for what LED. So the green and the red, no, sorry. The yellow and the red bulbs are actually only around 2 volts. So that would be 2, 4, 6, 3 volts for the white is 9. So I was actually 3 volts overpowered. So I need to add a resistor to compensate for that extra 3 volts that I don't need. Ohm's law, blah de blah, divide it by 2, add some zeros. So about 150 milliamp resistor I think I need to add. So let me remake this. Okay, let's try that again. Hopefully this time they won't blow up. Okay, we have light. They don't seem to be getting too bright and flickery. Oh, getting a bit brighter there. I'm going to go for full power. Here's full power. We still have light and they're nice and bright. Okay, happy with that. Back to the bench. Now, I still want to be able to remove the body from the chassis and not have like restricted access because of wires. I would like this section to be permanently in the body and I can lift it off with the wires intact. So I'm going to use one of these wires plug things that I got from Amazon. I'll leave a link because they could be quite handy. And obviously we can just disconnect. So one side will be attached to there, one side will be attached to there. And then when I want to remove the body shell, I can just unplug it. This will remain attached to those wires. This will remain attached to those wires. So we do need to figure out which side we need to attach to where, because as I said before, this LED system only works in one way and I want it to work in the forward direction. I've also noticed that once I install these bulbs, they maybe get filled up by this plastic section. I'll probably have to grind that down a bit. So for now we can remove this weird wire section that's stuck in the front. Actually, I don't know if I can remove that. I don't actually need to, I'll just snip that wire. And we can join that on. So I need to connect this wire to one side and that wire to the other side, but I don't know which way around at the moment. So let us get the body side wired up first, because I need to solder the other half of this on. And then we'll plug this in and see which way around these two wires need to go onto this. That makes sense? Well, it makes sense to me. Right, I'll be back in a second when I've got this attached to this. Okay, I have all my wires ready to be installed onto the body. So that's my little plug. We can deal with which way around those two wires go later. But now I need to get these installed. Hopefully I'll be able to just use some heat from the glue gun the heated glue gun thingy. I've forgotten what you called it. Heat gun, glue gun, whatever. Hot glue gun, there we go. So this needs to get stuck in there. They need to get bent back a bit. That'll go in there. Not sure yet where these wires are going to get routed, because I don't want them sticking up through the window. Maybe down a side like this. Plug will be a bit in the middle. Rear red light get installed in its little hole at the back. It'll be a kind of flush with the back, that'll be fine. But the problem I have noticed that I might have is this weight at the back is very close to the back end, and although it's made of lead, I don't think it's touching anything metal, so I don't think it'll short out. I'll maybe put a little bit of tape at the bottom because it is close to those screws that are on the chassis. So maybe just a little bit of insulating tape around there. It'll also stop it flopping about like it is at the moment. And then hopefully we'll be able to slide the body over the top. We'll do that first before we mess about with connections. Right, give me a second, back shortly. All my lights are now installed and glued in. Didn't make too much of a mess. So now I need to wire up my plug side. I've established that the red wire needs to go to the rear wire. Black wire goes to the front wire. And I know this because I threw it on the track and made sure it all worked. No surprises, thank you very much. Red wire to the rear. Oh, let's get a bit of heat shrink on there, or prepared. Red wire to the rear. And black wire to the front. Job's a good one. So when we hook all this up, we should have our lights working and our motor still working, hopefully. Let's just make sure it all goes together. Good thing is there's plenty of room down there to hide all these wires. I might put some double-sided tape in the top section just in case they start showing up through the windows, but I think we'll be okay. I know it does seem like a lot of wires, but they're easy to disconnect now if I want to work in the motor again. Yeah, I've got it right. No, I need to tape that white wire down, that's just going to annoy me. Give me a sec. Right, I managed to actually just tuck the wire downwards because there's plenty of room below this section. It was actually getting pushed up by that clear plastic inner shell thing. So I think we're good now. Things are turning. I'll whip that on the track, make sure it works, and then we'll get back and do the final horn installation and need to make the little grab rails. Okay, that's all working. Don't worry, you'll get to see it running at the end. Okay, let's see if we can install this little horn. Should just stick it in there and glue it down. Yeah, I'll just put a dot of superb glue. Oh, look at the state of that. As I say, I do love the brush, but it doesn't last long before it turns to whatever that is. Blob in there. Stick you in there. Looks fine. Not quite as dark as I'd like. I'm going to give it a wee bit more paint. Let that dry for a minute, and then we will move on to grab rails. Just a little behind the scenes while you're here. This is the amount of mess that you create just doing this simple job. Yes, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, you know. Anyway, see you back in the bench. And on to the fiddliest part of the job, making some grab rails. Horns turned out quite nice, which is nice. Right, let us put this in my cradle. Make life a little bit easier. See what I'm doing. Don't really want to turn it upside down now because, you know, my horns will just break off again. So, oh, let's see what we can do. This is going to be quite a bit of trial and error, I think. The only downside to buying these rolls is they're all bent because they didn't wrap it round a round stick. They wrapped it round a square stick, which is really stupid. So it's never going to be perfectly smooth. Just need to try and find a smoothish bit. Okay, how am I going to do this? Guess. I just need to guess, don't I? It's going to be about... we'll just go for it. Now, these were designed to bend in and then out and then in again, just to make life really difficult. Okay, I'm just giving myself way too much work here. I'm trying to do, let me show you a picture somewhere of how the grab rails are supposed to be. So you see what I mean? It goes up and then it goes in, then it goes up and then it goes in. That's just ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to do it with something this small. So let's just go for your standard in and out grab rail. Make life a whole lot easier and we can actually get this job finished. It's much easier to guess when it's just a straight bend. Oh, see what I mean? I got it right first time. So trim these down. That was maybe a bit too much. Glue that in there. That's my favourite glue. It's not really my favourite anymore because it's just quite so gloopy. Okay, while that is setting, let's make the second one. Take a wild guess at the other side. There, yeah, that looks about right. Trim it down, not as much as the last time. Bit of super glue. Send it home. Let it set. For a finishing touch, I'm going to try one of these acrylic paint pens. Got a pack of these on Amazon. I'll leave a link as usual. Hopefully it'll work. These are good because you've got a big fat side and you get a wee skinny side, which is quite a small fine brush. So I've used these already and they're really good. So let me paint these grab rails and then we'll be done. That'll do, that'll do. So there we go. I have transformed this ugly brown locomotive into a ugly brown locomotive with windows and LED lights and an extra horn and grab rails. Anyway, let's see how it looks in the track. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you very soon. I've got something very exciting coming up on Milk on Monday. So make sure you tune in on Monday morning. Bye for now.